Okay. My name is Ty Butler, and I am giving a speech on the discrimination of transgenders in America nowadays. I'm going to be talking about how they are discriminated by the workplace and how they are discriminated by the discrimination that they get from trying to get health care and receive medical things. And I'm also going to be speaking about the suicide rate and increased rate of suicide in transgenders throughout the past couple of years and the increase of transgenders. Um, the world that we live in today is filled with many different colors of people, many different kinds and religions and beliefs, and many different people who have many different kind of sexual beliefs and things like that today. And a transgender is one of them. A transgender is a person whose gender identity differs from the sex the person had or has and was identified at having at birth. So, therefore, a man nowadays possibly could have been born a female and possibly had a surgery that changed them into a different gender. Um, the population nowadays is filled with many transgenders. According to the LGBT, which is the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, an earlier report published in April 2011 by the Williams Institute estimates that 3.8% of Americans were identified as gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender. 1.7% of those were identified as lesbian or gay, 1.8% were identified as bisexual, and 0.3% were identified as a transgender. So that just shows how many were in kind of like in that little census were identified as a transgender, which was only a surprisingly 0.3%, but that rate has increased in the past 7 years. I can't give you the exact math because I don't have the research. But a lot of these transgenders and many different types of people, they suffer from a lot of discrimination and a lot of hate because they're not normal. They're different. And they're not like everyone else. They don't suffer from anything. They just are different. Having access to healthcare is a fundamental human right that is regularly denied to transgender and gender non-conforming people. Survey participants were reported very high levels of postponing medical care when sick or injured due to discrimination. According to the National Transgender Discrimination Survey, respondents face significant hurdles to access their health care. Many received the refusal of the care, so 19% of their samples reported being refused due to their transgender or gender non-conforming status, which with even higher numbers among people of the color in survey. The harassment and violence in the medical settings, some people were harassed or some people were actually hurt trying to fill out for healthcare, trying to get access for healthcare. 28% of the respondents were subjected to harassment in the medical settings, and 2% were victims of violence in the doctor's offices. So someone was hurt inside the doctor's office. And finally, the lack of the provider knowledge, which was 50% of the sample reported having to teach their medical providers about transgender care. So there is a transgender care, but their medical providers, they had to get taught about transgender care. Despite the barriers, the majority of survey participants have accessed some form of transition-related medical care. They wanted to have surgeries. Many of the transgenders want to have surgery so they can become what they're actually meant to be, what they would like to be, but they haven't had the surgeries yet. But that's pretty much all about the medical care. The increased rate of suicide of the transgenders, let's see. Little attention has been given to the problem of suicidal behavior in the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender population. According to the Journal of Homosexuality, 41% suicide rate among the people is more than 25 times the rate of the general population. So 41% of the suicidal rate among transgender people is more than 25 times the rate of the general population. So 41% that commit suicide are part of the transgender population. So that is a lot of the population. These transgenders, they commit suicide because of all the discrimination and hate that they have received throughout their lives and throughout their time. If people could learn to accept and understand these people, then they could save a lot of lives. A lot of people commit suicide because of the way they feel and the way that they're treated. And transgender people, among with the other discrimination topics that we were allowed to talk about, are probably some of the most harshly treated people. My name is Ty Butler, and those were my few topics about discrimination and transgender people. Thank you.